I was just wondering, how much commitment do you guys have to integrity? Basically, why I'm saying that, because there were a couple of, and all you guys are news guys, from what I'm understanding. And then there was one guy that mentioned that, one guy was beholden to another. The Voice was beholden to this paper, to this alderman, and this people, and these people are beholden to these people. Now, I pay for integrity, that, and the bottom line was stated earlier when one brother over here talked about the park districts and the field houses, and then someone else talked about the community issues also. Those are the things that's important to me. I don't, you know what I mean? If you have integrity, then I'll follow. I can get advertisement. I can get all the other stuff anywhere, and that's what's happening. I think that's what's falling through the cracks is integrity. People don't care anymore for the simple fact is that I can get advertisement. I can know where this business is and that business is through any type of media. But the issues in the community, those are the first and foremost that needs to be that people are concerned with. That's what I thought. We were, what's going on with Austin was really about when, I'm kind of tossing and turning here on what's really the issue.
Well, I think I can speak for Terry. Terry can speak for our newspaper because at one time he worked for our newspaper. He knows that we have a very high journalistic integrity, and I know that's how he operates because that's how he worked when he was with us. And so we're two different publications, but we can testify to the integrity of each other's stories. And I mentioned earlier, we get a lot of people that say a lot of things that they want it to be a story, but as I said before, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. And so we like to have proof before we actually go forward with the story.
Austin in itself is proof. But from what I understand, is that my wife overheard the Kendall Moore show with, I forget your name now, Suzanne. And one of the issues that came up was concerning the Austin community. And the Austin community and some of the plights that's going on, and it in comparison to other communities, that's a story in itself. You don't have to interview anybody. You just see. You just know it is. You just know that there are no garbage cans on each corner, as opposed to garbage cans on another corner on the north side or what have you, or the streets, sidewalks, potholes. These type of things. Those stories. They screaming out at you without even interviewing this person or that person.
Well, I understand what you're saying. Me being a product of this community, I get it. And I'm a little jaded in general towards this area because I understand some of the issues. And those are the very issues that I discuss, within some of the columns that I write. The obvious stuff, like you said, it's so obvious.
Right.
It's obvious that we don't have positive black images in the community. It's obvious that I can hear Trey Songz, but how many people today really understands the importance of December 4th, 41 years ago? So I understand what you're saying, but the integrity is not so much about, I think you're not talking so much about integrity, but you're talking about a commitment to some of the plight or some of the issues. And I think we all do that to varying degrees. Like I said, he has his mission, Terry has his mission, and we have our own mission. But collectively, if you were to put these newspapers online, side to side, you're going to get, different degrees of those issues. And so we all are attacking it from our own
But when I heard that, because a lot of things that were said, I was thinking them, and I said, oh, okay, that person said that person said this. But when I heard that one paper was beholden to the alderman and stuff, because people believe that, night and day, we believe that everybody's beholden to somebody, and somebody's in somebody's back pocket. So that's why I mentioned integrity, because if you're in somebody's back pocket or what have you, then you're going to do whatever the corporate or the conglomerate or whatever, you're going to lead and steer and guide the story towards what your the people who pay for it want you to do.
There's a term called hearsay. A prime example is what you heard here.
Right.
People say things in its opinions.
Okay.
Just like he said that we're not doing anything for the youth.
Right.
That's hearsay.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. But you know, a lot of hearsay has some substance. There is some substance to you know, certain things that I said. I mean, you know, I don't have to give it little anecdotes, but there is substance to some of those things I say. That's why I'm bringing it out. I mean, it's not going to change my opinion one way or another, but I just wanted to make this. I just wanted to state this, you know, publicly.
I want to add something to what I think you're saying, and I'll just take it on the level of Mayor Daley. When reporters interview Mayor Daley, it seems that those who hit him with the hard questions probably won't get the close-up interview.
Correct.
They won't get called on in a press conference. So there is more favorable, what am I trying to say? Daley is more favorable with reporters who tend not to be so harsh with him. So bringing it on a local level, perhaps in your papers, if either of your papers are maybe more partial to an alderman, perhaps you'll get more of a detailed story.
Right.
Or perhaps you'll get more benefits in some other ways.
Less
so
circulation.
Perhaps that was the concern of the person. And that's not to be accusatory, but just to say that that is a reality, and it doesn't have to be with you, but we just want to make sure that if we're in opposition to an alderman, that we can get fair coverage from your paper on a particular story. Or have you found yourself being threatened by a local politician? If you print a story, then you'll get denied funds. So we need to know that kind of integrity.
Correct,
I think
correct,
that's what you're
correct.
talking about. We need to make sure that that's there.
Threatening that they're going to sue because we did this, that, and the other. I mean, and that's usually just a lot of hot air from the alderman, with all due respect. You know, I mean, if you run a column, somebody criticizing the alderman, which happened with me and a particular alderman, he called me up and chewed me out and said, you know, you sue. And I was like, well, that's your right. You can do that. There was no lawsuit. I mean, they're just kind of, you know, blowing off smoke. You know, so as far as integrity, I let the paper content speak for itself. You pick up the paper and read what's on the front page. You read that story about this new business, this group, these group of kids that are doing. I mean, I kind of let the paper speak for itself. The paper defines my integrity as far as the content that you see. But you know, and as far as being concerned about people influencing, that's going to happen whether we're community journalists, working for large newspapers, Hollywood magazines, whatever. I mean, there's always that, you know, I mean, you want to get the story, you want to get in good with people. My whole thing is just common courtesy, and that's like a pet peeve. I'm just common courtesy with anything.
And I always explain to them that the newspaper is like a courtroom, man. You got the public defender and you got the state's attorney. And we're just the place where you can put this information in there. And we like to have proof.
I think also a good measure is to see how easy it is for anyone, whether it's you or someone else, to get a letter to the editor or a story. We'll run pretty much anything from anyone. The one thing I didn't run was something that basically was someone mad at a relative. And going, I mean, seriously, but like something like from my family. You know, like, I'm mad at you. Well, that's really not news. And, you know, if you two are mad, you need to resolve that elsewhere. We've never not refused anything else. But I think people don't realize that. With our site in particular, we're very much focused. At some point, we may even turn over this website to the community. I mean, our idea is not to be doing this forever, but to have people here own it and decide what they want to be. Well, if you're really going to do that, then you've got to let people submit things, allow them to publish them, all that kind of stuff. And I think that's where you're seeing moving more and more, not just on the website, but in lots of places, because really anyone can start a website now. It's much easier now to get the word out, which I think is a good thing.
I think it was that young lady. I was waiting to turn with that young lady. Yeah,
Oh,
so you
haven't had a chance.
Well,
I was just waiting to have she had her as a first.
Thank you.
It was about cooperative advertising. I think it was Mr. Crawford that has a business network. If you're a chamber, you could pool your money together and buy an ad, create an ad where everyone's displayed in one advertising, and that's your cooperative advertising. So that was for Mr. Crawford. I mean, that's a bit weird.
Yeah, I want to say something. I'm not sure if you're referring to something I wrote that was an opinion piece based on fact, but it was a very nasty thing. I was proud you even printed that, and I wrote about Alderman Ed Smith. It was true what he did, and I was very passionate about it because he was on what he did as an elected official and was brave for Austin Weekly to actually print that, because it was some really terrible things, because it was truthful, but it was like, how do you say you're about education? And then he was doing what he was doing. This was with the construction of the new Westinghouse High School, when he was probably the biggest hindrance to that school's construction, rather than his advocate. But that piece, and I think another piece that I think when local newspapers really come in at is the some of us that didn't agree with the Olympics coming to Chicago, that we were able to have some information or at least some voice in the local newspapers, because the whole media was scared of we really don't want to be on the bad side of Mayor Daley and thinking we're anti-American, whereas the local newspapers were covering something like that, because of course with the North Lawndale, with the potential site at Douglas Park, you got a lot of issues there. So the local newspaper will go a step further with that particular story in a brave manner, considering that potentially they can look at, boy, should we run this stuff, or should we go ahead and forsake potential advertising when it comes to the 2016 bid. So I'm quite sure that maybe they have, I'm not sure what was going on in their back room, but in terms of those decisions, but obviously it didn't intimidate them enough to the point where they did print stuff that was, those of us who had some good issues and point out some good facts why we did not support the Olympics. And also, was another piece I was getting ready to say, is that another thing I want to ask you as the media is the issue of, I guess, what my wife likes to point out is we got to realize that the audience that you're writing to, this is not, I'm trying to be politically correct, but like we can get in a depth issue like what was happening at Douglas High School when you really try to get to the minutia of it, but some of your readers may not really understand what you're really trying to point out. It's not like you're saying that you pass a judgment on whether this principal is a good principal or bad principal, because that's what the issue was at Douglas. They was talking about removing the principal. But the timing of it, why would you do this in the middle of the school year, and what would be the impact on the kids? And I think like this with Austin Talks, they got it, they got it as to that we talking about the kids, not about who they coming in and firing this principal. Why would you do this in Oak Park River Forest High School in the middle of the school year? So would you do this on the north side? Why would you do it in Austin when you're talking about our numerous education challenges? And another two pieces I'm going to say real quick, because two things that, like you said, you have 3 newspapers here and there's so much that's going on. You have sharing over the Austin Organizing Network, a lot of things that they do that don't get a whole lot of coverage. And then you have Reverend Backus with what they're doing with ACT, Austin Coming Together. So it's so much that's going on. You got these 3 media up here, and still those stories to continue to get fleshed out. So yeah, if the gentleman who was the Austin Voice, I mean, it's those stories that they can still work together and piggyback, because you got a lot of people doing a lot of good things in the community, but it's so many limited in terms of resources. And I do advertise with the paper because he slaves me a lot. But the point is that I understand that I got to advertise with that newspaper in order for it to survive, in order for the community. Don't be bashful, say you need the money to advertise. You got to survive. And I do, pay for ads in there. I freelance, but I understand, okay, for my side business, I'm not going to come to Terry and say, man, give me a break, because if I don't have Austin Weekly or North Lawndale or Austin Talks, then where am I going to put some of my stuff to?